And happy to have everybody with us. WoodwardSports.com chat thread. All right, Alex DeBrincat, DMAC. I don't want to say we broke the news. I'm not Pierre LeBrun or any of these guys like that. However, we did talk about the fact that this was far from dead, that when you look at the financials, you look at the cap structure of teams in the league, there was a very segmented market that was in the Alex DeBrincat running. But the moral of the story, he is here right now, the player, DMAC. You know, I've been very fond of him. You and I have talked about him for a very long time, as a matter of fact. The player, Alex DeBrincat. What's he bringing to the party, DMAC? Analyze the game.
Goals. First and foremost.
You heard it here first,
First
folks.
and foremost, goals. Pucks in the net. Something that needed to be addressed.
What makes him, especially
he's a natural
at his
goal
size?
scorer, right? You listen to anybody talk about him, what he's proven from his days, even back into, being a goal scorer in Erie in junior, being a local kid going to Chicago, being able to, light the lamp there, show everybody that size isn't everything. He can play in this new NHL. He's a smart player, but what he brings is there might be, a dozen guys that are absolutely natural goal scorers where the puck follows them around, where they just know how to find the back of the net. But with Alex DeBrincat, too, he's much more than that. A lot of times you just get, with a goal scorer, it's more one-dimensional or more offensively. But the one thing, and I think is very poignant out of a lot of things that Steve Yzerman said in his press conference, is the fact that he makes guys around him better. He's a playmaker. It's not just a scorer. So when you look at this, and I look at this trade, and I said to you, or this signing trade, whatever like this, first of all, did you play my clip yesterday or no?
Yes.
So, right, I give everybody a break. Oh, that was your pass. Okay? From now on, you don't get a pass. I'm not going to be nice anymore, because you can do it two ways. You can continue to be the type of fan, because if it's in your fandom to bitch and moan and to whine and cry and not understand what's happening here, then do it, and we'll ignore you. But if you want to take the easier way and understand that the man in charge, the hashtag WiserPlan1919, is what I've said all along, right? What have I been consistent with? I try to read the tea leaves, right? I was wrong. I thought we wouldn't use all these draft picks, but then we make the trade. But I knew that he was going to make this team better, and I knew this is what he wanted. And at the end of the day, Steve Yzerman has a plan, and he doesn't go away from it. So if I look at this right now, what does Alex DeBrincat immediately bring? Because I'm just going to put him in on the first line with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond, right? You paid a little bit more, right? But pretty much you traded Bertuzzi for DeBrincat, right, on that first line, and you got better. As much as I love Tyler Bertuzzi and moving on, this helps more to the team, because what did Steve Yzerman do? He insulated the rest of the team, especially in free agency, by a guy like JT Compher, Sprong, with the grit that Bertuzzi provided, right? Now you got the goals and natural goal scoring. And when you hear guys like Steve Yzerman or every general manager around the league who covets goals, it's a natural thing, right? So now it's just, and I got to think, there's a couple things that play to me. Yes, kid who grew up a Wings fan. I'm the same way. Larkin was the same way. There is some juice to that. He bet on himself. The 4-year deal and at under $8 million a year, that's, to me, that's a guy going, okay, I'm going to get compensated, but if I prove it, then I'll definitely be that $10, $11 million player. What I think Alex DeBrincat is looking is that in the 4-year plan is to win a cup here, right? And so if I look at it in the big picture, what did you just do? You just added your Brendan Shanahan, right? You just traded. If I do the analogies back to
today's day and age,
Brendan Shanahan, where it's not about the power forward mode, but it's about the goals, and it's about being that goal. And yes, this is probably this is our first 40-goal guy since Marian Hossa back in like 2009. But the fact is that this guy could score 50 goals. And that's priceless, Neil. In this NHL to have that. So What I love about him is the fact that he loves to compete. Him and Larkin are buddies. They're working out golfing now and stuff like this. It all adds in. And I like what he brings into the locker room, right? It's not a guy that you have to caveat to. He's not a prima donna. He's a guy that's going to come to work. And all those prerequisites had to have before Steve Yzerman pulled the trigger.
WoodwardSports.com chat thread, FJ1967. Morning, Big D Energy and chat back from vacay. Welcome back, FJ1967. Good to have you back. D-Mac and I are back here in effect as well. And there are some contract details, LFG, Neil, ahead of the curve around another big story. And look, I don't talk, I don't text Steve Yzerman or anything like that. It's just when you do this for a living, I feel like there's a maintenance to it.
Just pay attention.
You know what I'm saying?
No, dude, listen, any one of yous out there, if you paid attention, could see this coming.
Right.
And what the writing on the wall, listen to what Stevie said. Go back to the press conference of everything. He answers every question that you need to have. The bottom line is this is his team putting it together, right? And that's why Steve Yzerman is running this organization. When you get frustrated or don't understand, just sit back and wait. Because it will play out. You're not doing anything, right?
No, I'm just looking at numbers on paper.
Algebra, geometry,
no, because I was awful at that.
trigonometry.
No, I was
right?
awful
No,
at that.
this is just
street math. This is street math.
This is street. This is just watch, listen, and see what it is. So, is this team better today and ready? So legitimately, I think what it is, Neil, is that when we say I've taken the clock off and I say this is a playoff team. Right, that this year it's playoffs or else there's questions to be answered. This puts them in that conversation.
Right. Rax says Neil doesn't text Stevie Y. He just walks next door and talks to him. No, we'll have to arrange that. Stevie Y and I will have to have a drink together. Maybe talk cap and stuff like that. But yeah. So and there are some things too. We'll talk about contractually. As far as DeBrincat's deal goes, we'll probably do that the next segment, D-Mac, because there are some caveats because you got questions.
That's the beauty.
Yeah.
Like the first thing was we said this all along, right? The offer's been made, and you're gonna sit and wait to see what happened. And when the contract had come out under $8 million for 4 years. And players, we lost Kubalik, and Sabrango is a great young prospect, but there's caveats in there to what Steve Yzerman did, and it didn't forego him making any other moves. At the end of his press conference yesterday, right, and he was asked, are you done making moves for the big moves for the season or whatever? And he said today, but I'm in the position that I won't say no to anything if it makes sense for the team, but I'm not spending money just to spend money.
Right.
Like where I guess that's the most frustrating thing is just listening to people is just go get this and go spend that and go, why? If it doesn't get you to where you want to be.
No, and the thing too, and you and I talked about this as well, through all this negotiations that was going on and the DeBrincat watch that we all endured. Tell me the 40-plus goal scorer that moved in the intermediary during all that time. You know what I'm saying? Tell me the big-time goal scorer that's been out there on the market that another team went and got while the Red Wings sat there and twiddled their thumbs. While Steve Yzerman said, none. There were none. There were none to be had. DeBrincat was the only one out there.
Yeah, and you nailed it down, whereas when the move wasn't made throughout and the time goes down and then it was down to Jack Harrington's New York Islanders, right, and the Red Wings, and we looked into the bag and went, Islanders can't do that. They got no, they got no bag, but Stevie can, and we just wait and see.
That's what that D-Mac, in retrospect, that's when I knew this whole thing was a wrap.
Yeah.
When they said when insiders, like national Canadian insiders, like big time guys, were like, this is down to the Red Wings and the Islanders, and I told you that.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a wrap. It's happening. Like they're going to go get him. And that is the way that it went down. But from the hockey perspective, D-Mac, we talk about goal scorers, right? The puck finds a stick, and he finds the back of the net, and he's just able to score goals. If you look at it, too, I've heard this buzzword thrown around with DeBrincat, is he plays with a toughness, which you have to at that size. D-Mac, for the size crowd, for the people that are worried about he's too small. Because remember when we talked about this, even in the middle of the season, where I said, hey, this could be one of the potential moves that are out there. Remember, I got blown up. We don't need another small guy. We're already physically taken advantage of in games. And what was my response to that, D-Mac? Well, then go get you somebody that when they take a penalty, you make them pay.
Absolutely.
And that stops right quick. But D-Mac, why does it work for him? Because he has to be tough to be that size and
proven.
be a 40-goal scorer.
But he's already proven. It's not like we're drafting this guy or it's the next second coming or he's coming from anywhere. Why do you think he was passed over in the first round in his draft and didn't go? Every team had an opportunity. Because the question was he big enough? And what has gone on? The game has evolved into a smaller person game with more speed and stuff like this. I think that he plays plenty big enough. He plays definitely bigger than his size. It's sort of like, Chris Draper, who's like, Chris Draper will tell you he's 6 foot tall, but he's not even but a 5'10", but he plays over 6 feet tall. It's having that attitude. And scoring goals is that attitude. Right? Teams want to try to bully you around. You can hammer them on the power play. That was our bread and butter back in the day. So there's different ways to do it. You got to evolve with the game. But definitely he's proven to everybody that he's a player. There's a lot of smaller guys around the league like that who've had that, the Johnny Gaudreaus and stuff like this who have proven that they can play, the Jack Hugheses and stuff. So, again, the game's evolved. It's not 30 years ago.
Real quick, before we cut to the break, WoodwardSports.com chat thread, Rad Dad Scott says, we will be absolutely insane with Kyle Connor on the roster. And Rad Dad, again, this doesn't come from like a place of knowledge or anybody I've talked to or things like that. When you have that kind of talent like Winnipeg does, and last season certainly was a disappointment for them, no question about it, you're not just going to disassemble that in an offseason. You're going to give it every opportunity. D-Mac, they're going to run it back with everybody at Winnipeg.
Well, you always think that until the coach comes out and absolutely fish fries the whole your whole leadership base. So that leaves a bad taste, and that's when egos come in. So I don't know if, they might want to run it back, but
they're going to give it a spin and see. And
as it goes on, and what usually happens when the spin goes on and the threads start to go out, and everything starts to fall apart, that's when deals are made. So that I love Kyle Connors. I think he would fit in. He would be a great once a year, but that might be something during the season that happens.
And that's my feel.
That's sort of the next step. Hey, what if the Red Wings get off to a good start, a great start, stuff like this? Winnipeg doesn't. Then they're looking, because that's when you run it back like this on the last treads. Usually, if it's not going to work, it's dismantled during the season.
And that's the way it'll work, because they have talent. So you're going to give that one final spin to try to. It's a Hail Mary. Yes, it's
also
a Hail
Mary, but it's also a showcase.
And it is a showcase. It's all of that. Because again, D-Mac, what have we learned about this? Humans make deals. Leverage makes deals. Deadlines make deals. That's the way that this works. You need suitors. When you have two teams, the marketplace is limited. When there are many, the return is better.
Well, it's funny because you say when deadlines make deals. There's so many things. How many times do you see this now? And I guess maybe we witness this in basketball and in hockey and free agency and stuff like that, where restricted free agents and the teams and them can't make a deal, and then they're going to go to arbitration, and all of a sudden before arbitration the deal gets done.
Yeah.
In like a day or two.
Deadlines
what has
make
changed?
Deals, man.
The only thing that's changed is the deadline.
The deadline. That is it. All right, we're late for a break.